Welcome to the John Harrison Podcast. Statistics show us that about 70% of people are disengaged in the workplace. Obviously, that affects bottom lines of companies, individual, their own engagement at work, but also affects families and communities. We don't want to just be frustrated about things that are going on in the workplace or the world. We want to do something about it. So we're going to talk about this while others aren't, and we hope you will join us on this journey.
Welcome back to the John Harrison Podcast. This is Madeline Baker, and I've got John and Melissa here at the table. We're going to be talking about recruiting, but we're going to take a little twist on it. We really want to talk about who is actually doing the recruiting within your company. It's kind of a cool concept. So I'm going to go ahead and hit it to John.
Yeah, thanks, Madeline. So this hit my brain over the years, and recently it's been coming up as I've talked to clients. But we think about formal recruiting, and Melissa did a lot of that in her career, so I'll let her jump in on that side of it. But really, we have to think about there's all kinds of people recruiting for your organization that you may not even be aware of it. For example, Madeline and I were talking about this before we went live today, talking about restaurants. So if you go to a restaurant and you're talking with your friends over the weekend, they go and you say, "Yeah, What'd you guys do last night?" "Well, we went to that new restaurant that just opened up." And they go, "Well, how was it?" And if Madeline goes, "Well, it was okay." Yeah. No one's going to be in a rush to go to that restaurant. And the flip side of it, she went, "Wow, it was so good. The food was great and priced reasonably, and it's a really nice setting. We sat outside." Man, instantly people are going to want to go to that restaurant. So think about like this. You meet somebody in the grocery store and you say, "Hey, do you still work at XYZ company?" And they go, "Yeah, how is it?" "Yeah, it's all right." So it's all right. Mm-hmm. No one follows that up with, "Are they hiring?" Mm-hmm. And so as we kick this one off, that for anyone that's listening, let's say you are a supervisor, manager, CEO, owner, you really have to think about this, because when we talk about measuring employee engagement, employee satisfaction, and you can think that's a warm and fuzzy concept that doesn't matter. Well, first of all, obviously your best employees are not going to stick around where employee engagement is low, because they're taking the brunt of that. But if you've got, nationally 2 out of 3 people disengaged at work, that means 2 out of 3 people, when they chat about your company, are probably not giving it glowing reviews. Yeah. And so excellent employees aren't going to jump on that and want to come work for you. If you are a staff, analyst level, hourly person, we know that you might have a bad day at work and somebody says, "Hey, do you still work at XYZ?" And you go, "Yeah, how was it?" "Well, it sucked today. It was awful today." Mm-hmm. I understand that, but be careful that you're not sharing a bad day, a bad week with everyone you talk to, because we all know every organization has issues, every marriage has issues, every family has issues. So I'm not telling you that you can't tell people it sucked, but just having a bad week and telling people that, just realize if you're kind of spewing that everywhere you go, you can start to paint a picture of your organization in the whole community. Mm-hmm. People, "Yeah, my brother-in-law works there, he says it sucks." And pretty soon there's this image of no one wanting to work there. And I will tell you, I won't name the companies, but when I moved to Little Rock, when I was still at Caterpillar, I knew about 3 or 4 companies. Mm-hmm. I didn't know if it was true, but I had 3 or 4 companies that I heard were not good places to work. Mm-hmm. So there's your recruiters right there, unfortunately. But Melissa, from your side, obviously when you went out to recruit for organizations, I'm guessing you said very nice things about the company.
I did, yeah. I said lots of nice things, and I think they were truthful in their own way. However, I learned pretty quickly, because even in the college environment, students are coming out and they're very savvy, and they want to know what is really happening, right, in organizations. Not just for the sake of making career choices for themselves, but they're more informed, they're better informed. So I learned over time to try to balance that with some of the challenges that were happening in an organization and be more transparent about that. I tried to answer maybe and anticipate questions that they had before they asked them. Mm-hmm. But secondarily to that, I was just a recruiter. I was sometimes the hiring manager, but less often I was the hiring manager, and I was playing the role of the corporate recruiter. And so while I understood the business and I understood the mission and I understood a lot about the job positions, because I would inform myself about those before I went out, of course, to talk to people about it, but it still doesn't replace the fact that having people in the positions that you're recruiting for talking to some of the candidates about the jobs is the realism of the job. And so with that, they can talk about the positives, but they can also talk about the challenges and the rewards of performing that job. So you kind of get all perspectives relative to that. And in the robust hiring process, we talk about incorporating your stars into that conversation and having them represent really what the culture is like. And, they've seen the good and they've seen the bad and they've seen the challenges, but it's just very important to give the visibility of the whole view of what an organization is, and do that in such a way that is constructive and informative, but at the same time, just letting the conversation kind of happen organically.
That's right. And remember, folks, that your star, if they are star candidates, they are interviewing you as much as you're interviewing them.
Absolutely.
And if you go, no, I always joke with this, it's a family here. We're just a family. And I think when people say that, they're almost naively saying we just all get along, we don't have problems here, and we have fun. And I joke about this, and you should say, no, we're a family, meaning we have disagreements, we have conflict, we have family members that drive us crazy. Yeah. And if you say that, like that, you need to be real, like Melissa said. We absolutely have issues here. Matter of fact, you could say our IT systems are archaic, and we're trying to upgrade them, but right now it's very difficult. But we have a culture where we get through difficult times. We have difficult conversations. We do have clear expectations. And using our analogy, we try to keep the water in people's bottles all day with the passion. So that's kind of on the formal side, even being truthful. But I started off this podcast talking about people that would be negative about your organization. But what if I said, hey, do you still work at XYZ company? And Madeline says, yeah, I do. And, well, how is it? And she said, well, I'll tell you what, we're not perfect. But as far as a place to hang out for 40, 50 hours every week, good people. We don't have a lot of unnecessary drama. They care about our water bottles. So I go home at night in a good position to be a spouse or a parent, whatever. Like, that can happen, folks.
Those are the real recruiters.
Those are your recruiters. But they're also, if they go, no, don't even think about putting your application there. That's happening all over the place too. So we spend a lot of time talking about employee engagement and culture, but it's not, again, just warm and fuzzy. There are bottom line reasons for doing this. And again, no place is perfect. The national numbers will still tell you in the U.S. about 2 out of 3 people are disengaged at work. It's never going to be 100%. But I joke about this too with, my parents being married for 70 years before they passed away. Well, of course they had problems in 70 years, but they got through it. Yeah. And so most people want to know, is this a place, yes, they're going to wonder about pay and benefits and all of that. Is this a place where I can be the best version of myself, basically? And I know we're going to have problems, but it's going to be okay. So I think, this one was just to be get your brain thinking a little bit. By the way, most organizations don't even have formal recruiters. They don't have a formal HR department or a formal recruiting person or team. It's the owners going out and asking people to come work there. But whether you have 5 employees or 50,000, there are recruiters, so to speak, just all over the place, that wearing your brand, so to speak, on their shirts or out of their mouth. And people are listening. And what you want them to hear is, it's a good place. We care about each other. We do important work. Yes, we have problems. We get through them, like I said. And that's going to be followed up with, are they hiring? And more so, like Melissa said, in the year 2025 than in the year 1925 or even 1975, because most people under the age of 50 nowadays, and probably 60, are aware of culture and work environment and passion and having an empty bottle every night, where our grandparents and great-grandparents were like, I'm just happy to have a job. And I don't even care if it's safe, to tell you the truth. I mean, if I get a check every Friday, I'm in. And so this is a recruiting is just a complex thing, formally or informally, and I don't think we think about it.
Yeah, I have one other point I want to make about that in terms of the conversation around recruiting. So if you're an Amazon shopper or you shop online, you're going to see reviews, both good and bad. And it's very similar in today's world, right? You can find out any review you want to about a company, either through LinkedIn or their social media page or Google or whatever that platform is that they're searching for information. So I would just suggest that, if you are looking for another position, that you take all of that into account and try to take it from a balanced perspective. But even more than that, if you have the opportunity to have a conversation with somebody from that company that you're interested in, take the time to have a quality conversation. And then, just like what John was talking about, if you're the employee and you really care about the culture and you want the opportunity to influence it or change it for the better, take the time to have the real and transparent conversation with the person who's asking you questions. You have the opportunity to help influence that change in the type of people you're bringing into the organization.
Yeah, that's well said. And maybe circling back to the restaurant example. So, if you have a restaurant that you've had generally positive experiences with, and then you go, it's the 20th time you've gone and it wasn't great the 20th time. Mm-hmm. Food was not awesome, or you had a server that wasn't as attentive. Well, you're not going to tell people, don't go there. Right. Because it was one time out of 20. Mm-hmm. And so that's why I'm saying workplaces are going to have bad days, bad weeks. There's going to be struggles. There's archaic IT systems, all the stuff we talked about. Mm-hmm. But you want a culture where people go, no, even though I had a bad experience today or the last 3 months, I'm staying there, because I'm aligned with them and I know that they do great stuff. And I think that's sweet. I think sometimes there's consultants and trainers that paint this rosy picture that it's all going to be awesome and let's all just love each other. I don't think that's accurate. No. I think it's more like the restaurant example where, 90% of the time we go there, we have a good situation, so we're going to keep coming back. But again, the first experience is really important. And so a new restaurant, a new whatever, and you tell somebody, no, it wasn't very good. And most people aren't going to seek it out. And I just think we forget that there's, again, people at all levels it's one of the main things people talk about. If they go to a family event, they go to church, they go somewhere, hey, what do you do? Yeah. Where do you work? It's not like people have to dig real far to get to this conversation.
It's the first question.
It's one of the very first questions. And if you go, yeah, it's okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Man, it's so huge.
Yeah, I had a conversation with someone yesterday. I've talked to this person probably 10 or 12 times in the last 6 months, and we've never had the opportunity to go deeper into that conversation for her to say, what do you do?
Really?
And so for the first time yesterday, she asked me what I did. And so I went into having a conversation about it. It was really kind of cool. But so much of our identity is linked to who we are and who we work for. And then you start assessing, am I aligned, or is that person aligned with that company's values and their mission and what they do? And, oh, well, that makes sense. That seems like a good fit. Or, well, that makes no sense at all, right? So, again, it's just about the transparency in the conversation. I keep going back to that, I know, but it's the realism behind most things that we encounter, right? You have to.
It also comes up with where you live, right? So I travel around the United States, and I've been around the world a little bit, and people say, so tell me about Arkansas, because a lot of people don't know anything about Arkansas. Oh, yeah. And I'll go, we love it. And sometimes they'll go, really? Because that which means, because there's probably, there's either they don't know anything about it, or probably a negative bias a little bit. And I'll go, no, we think it's a very well-kept secret, and da-da-da. And I'll just say this, like Little Rock, right? People have heard Little Rock. And I think before we moved here, there was some HBO series about gangs and crime in Little Rock. And so someone will go, oh, I heard it's really unsafe there. And I'll go, well, there's crime for sure. But you show me a city where there's not crime. But I'm saying I don't think in general people feel like Central Arkansas is you're taking your life in your hands wherever you go. So my point is, even towns, states, people get a concept in their head. And just think if, I travel all over, right? And if I said, what do you think of Arkansas? What do you think of Little Rock? Well, we're stuck here.
Yeah.
Like, we can't wait to find it. People say stuff like that about their neighborhood or their city. Yeah. And that, I think, again, we can do all the promotion for the city of Little Rock or Conway or those people that Little Rock Chamber of Commerce. That's their job. Tourism, they're out there, but that's the formal side.
Right.
What you're really going to do, if I'm thinking about moving to a city, like Melissa said, I'm going to Google, and I want to find negative reviews to see, is it a bunch of negative reviews or maybe these are extreme. And again, because I think some people will say, well, if I go out and look at about a company on Google, what you're likely to see is a bunch of, probably more likely, negative stuff, just like negative reviews at a restaurant. Sure. But you can start to get a feel around social media of what people think of this organization. So anyway, we just wanted all of you to look at this a little differently, whatever your role in the organization, and realize that there is incredible competition for star employees today. And you can try to win them with pay, and that'll work for a little bit, but I really think culture is the driving factor, and that going home with water in their bottle. And we've got clients where people work 60 hours a week, and they still are generally pretty positive.
They still have balance.
Yes.
I think balance is really a word that comes into play.
Yes.
Because even though they're working 60 hours a week, maybe, they still feel balanced in their contribution and what they're getting from the company.
Yeah. And that comes back to being self-aware of like, oh, am I on the brink of burnout right now? Or have I been super stressed for the last 3 months? Do I need to make a change? And talk to somebody? Like, that's where all that plays in. And hopefully y'all who are listening aren't just thinking, as employees, we're just saying, be positive, like just speak good things about your company out there. No, we really want you to be transparent. But that's where the deeper concept of burnout comes into play, because from the employee side, you do want to be aware of, am I really stressed over some things? And then as the employer, how are my employees? We just did an episode on reading the room. How are the employees doing? Are most of your employees looking stressed and burned out, running around the office? And so just trying to assess those things before they blow up and your star employees go out speaking.
That's great.
It is a great point. And
negative things.
I thought of the two as Madeline was talking to. We do this with service providers. You go, hey, do you know a good plumber? Do you know a good so-and-so? Do you know do you ever gone to what dentist do you go to? You can Google dentists, but you're more likely going to hear about it from other people.
Yes.
And the Nextdoor app is, some of you know what I'm talking about, but there's people will say that on Nextdoor. I'm looking for a plumber. Anybody have any recommendations? So they're not going to some big formal plumbing association website. They're asking neighbors, who do you use? And it's usually about their behavior. You'll hear them say, oh, he fixed my water heater right, but he's so pleasant and he's so respectful and he cleaned up. And so our whole thing about being a star employee is behavior and performance. And that's what you look for in service providers, right? Restaurants even. The food was great and they were kind. And so really what I think people are saying, where do you work? XYZ. If you said it is filled with a bunch of people that get their job done and they're really awesome people to hang out with for 50 hours a week, they may not even ask about the pay. They're going to go, man, are they hiring? So anyway, I hope this got everybody thinking a little bit. Appreciate, Madeline, Melissa, your stories on this.
Yeah, of course. And hope you found this encouraging, and we will catch you on the next episode.
Thank you for joining us today on the John Harrison Podcast. As you know, we believe that a positive work culture creates a ripple effect that extends into families and communities. If you found anything of value in today's episode, please share it with somebody so they can hear it as well. And if you have questions or topics you'd like us to cover in future episodes, please fill out the form below.